Well, since we're upon the season of change, I have a change that I would like to propose here on Cardinals Underground. Brought to you by Pacific Office Automation. Darren Urban calculating. Dani Sureck, maybe a little apprehensive right now, has nothing to do with anything or anyone related to this show in particular.
No, just a Paul saying he's going to say something.
I just think it would make more sense if we would redefine and or reclassify the term off-season. Here's what I mean by that.
You're preaching to the choir here.
We have preseason, regular season, postseason. There's the hiring season, the firing season. The combine season is coming up. You guys know that very well. Free agency season and or the new league year season. There's draft season, OTAs, mini camp. Henceforth and heretofore, schedule release. Thank you, Jim Alejandro. Henceforth and heretofore, I propose that the only time of year that we use the term off-season is between the end of mandatory minicamp and the start of training camp. Who's with me?
6 weeks between June and July.
There's essentially a reason why everybody in this room, and even on the other side of the glass, basically takes all the vacation that they can take in that window anyways.
It's not about us. It's just about accuracy.
Oh, it's always about us.
It's about accuracy. The term off-season is antiquated and should only be applied late June, first half of July. And you know what? We're going to change that because the Cardinals are going to the Hall of Fame game. That would be late June.
You are not breaking news. We do not know that for a fact.
And only the first half of July. No late July for Yins over there because you're going to Canton, Ohio. All expenses paid trip to the Hall of Fame game.
Is that your long intro of why we have a Cardinals Underground this week? Because there's no off season?
Well, I mean, we could go with the Bill Belichick no days off. You know, I mean, he really is. He's our spokesperson, our poster boy for this whole thing.
Technically,
no days off.
Players are off right now. If you just said it's not about us, I mean.
I'm just talking about the league, the National Football League. Doesn't mean there isn't a lot to talk about. There's always something to talk about.
I do have something I want to bring up real quick.
Here we go.
Football related, not Cardinal related, not NFL related. I don't know if you guys saw this. The University of Colorado has a high-level offensive tackle playing under Dion, or did. He entered the transfer portal.
Okay, I did see that.
The Buffaloes were a little disappointed, but okay.
Never heard of him before, but I did see the headline. Okay.
So apparently he announced this enter of the transfer portal with a video, with the cool video. What happened though was he had gone to the video graphics department at Colorado and asked them to make this video, but he told them it was because he wanted to announce he was staying at the school. And then after they gave him the video, he changed it, that he was going into the transfer portal.
So we're talking bait and switch? Is that what we're saying?
Sounds like it.
He went in and they advertised the pickup truck, but then when you got into the dealership, they sold him the sports car. Is that what you're saying? Is that what happened here?
I mean,
wow. All right. Well, you know what? Sleeves are up. It's hand-to-hand combat in college football at this point.
Well,
is it not?
This is also true.
I mean,
hat tip to Sam Levitt.
It's just. By the way, that may or may not be a forward tease. Dani, we're going to update the power poll of incompetence with a brand new poll.
Oh,
a little bit later if we have time for it.
Power poll of incompetence.
No, it's going to take a back burner this week. We're going to debut for 2026 the power poll of sports figures we're sick and tired of, and that'll be coming a little bit later.
Well, I can't wait.
You might have somebody to throw on there, right, Dani?
That's right.
Possibly.
You know what?
I've got more than one person I can throw on there, but if I want to keep my job, I won't.
It's I mean, really, you shouldn't bring up Craig Grialou like that. That's terrible.
Robert.
Robert. It's a party wave. That's what surfers say. Party wave. Everyone jump on. What am I looking for here? I have no idea.
I don't know.
Here we go. I just feel more important when I'm flipping through papers right here. When it says right on the top of the front page, coaching search, idiot. This is the Ron Burgundy moment. Read the prompter. Let's go to the coaching search. Let's see. How many names do we have here, Darren? I'm counting. Do we have a baker's dozen yet, or are we still at a dozen?
I think we just got to 12 today.
Okay.
I think we got to 12. In terms of reported names that the Cardinals have interest in or have reached out to, all that stuff.
Okay. Are we going to name names?
You're welcome to name. You want me to name names? I can name names.
I can rip through them here. You probably have a better order than I do. Mine's sort of like scattershot.
Well,
There's no rhyme or reason.
All right,
order.
I'll throw them. Obviously, reportedly, Jesse Minter, the Chargers defensive coordinator, popped up actually before we recorded this today on Tuesday. Jim Harbaugh obviously came up. John Harbaugh, my bad. Yeah. One of those Harbaughs.
Breaking news, you're on Cardinals Underground.
Reportedly ended up speaking with him at some point, although there's a lot of reporting out there that John Harbaugh is all about like getting initial information about who he might actually want to interview with fully. I'm not sure exactly how that goes. And then the other names, Patriots passing game coordinator Thomas Brown, Packers defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley, Broncos defensive coordinator Vance Joseph, who we know well around here, Seahawks offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak, Rams offensive coordinator Mike LaFleur, former Falcons head coach Raheem Morris, Chiefs offensive coordinator Matt Nagy, 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh, Rams defensive coordinator Chris Shula, and Dolphins defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver.
Whew. Wow, okay. Where do you want to start, Dani? Any name there jump off the list? Anyone move the meter that you want to talk about first and foremost?
I'm going to continue what I said before of wanting to keep my job, so I'm going to keep any names that I have maybe more intrigue than others to myself.
Okay.
But I do think there's something to be said of there is value bringing in a coach that has head coaching experience. Typically when a team lets go of a head coach, more times than not, they swing the pendulum, right? Offensive-minded head coach to a defensive-minded head coach. And looking at the previous two head coaches that were hired of not having head coaching experience, it wouldn't shock me if that's the route the Cardinals go in terms of going opposite, of looking at coaches who have head coaching experience. And there's quite a few on this list who fit that bill. Now, there's reason that these coaches who have not had that opportunity before are being interviewed by many teams and seeing the potential there. But yeah, there are a few names who definitely intrigue me, but I would not be opposed to a head coach who has been a head coach before, especially after hearing the owner say he's not looking for a 3 or 4 year turnaround.
What's interesting to me at this point, to me it almost feels kind of goofy to get into the weeds over who. I mean, when you got this many names, and make no mistake, there's a handful of teams that have already talked to or are trying to talk to a ton of people. The Titans, the Cardinals, all those names that we put out there with the Cardinals, those are reported names. The Cardinals have not officially said anything. Other teams have officially said some things. The Titans have talked about who they have their list, and they've got, I think they're up to double digits now, including Jonathan Gannon was one of their potential interviews in terms of their head coaching spot. But what strikes me more right now at this current part of the sequence is there's 9 jobs open now. I mean, before we came on the air, Mike Tomlin officially stepped down as the Steelers head coach. So now there's 9 openings, 8 other coaching spots besides the Cardinals. And until a couple of these probably get filled, it just feels like it's going to be a little bit a while, and it feels like, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, to me it feels like John Harbaugh's kind of got to pick a place and then see where things go from there, maybe?
The linchpin, if you will?
It feels like it, although if he gets to the point where he tells 3 teams, you're the 3 teams I'm interested in, and all the other teams know that he's not coming there, then maybe something can happen before he officially picks a place, But
to Dani's point, let's see here. Guys on the list, reportedly, that the Cardinals have connected with head coaching experience, Matt Nagy, Raheem Morris, Robert Saleh, Vance Joseph once upon a time with Denver almost 10 years ago, and then, of course, John Harbaugh. So Matt Nagy had a couple of years in Chicago, 2+. The first year they went to the playoffs. Raheem Morris, last couple of years with Atlanta. Robert Saleh, obviously, with the Jets for 3+ years. The other thing that's somewhat intriguing to me are those coaches within the division. So if you're talking about, okay, let's eliminate some of the learning curve of first-time head coach by hiring someone with past or prior experience, someone who knows the division really well, that's a bonus. It's not a deal breaker. It's not something that maybe I put in the top 5 in terms of qualities. But I think it's attractive.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Paul. I would just say on that regard, I'm with you. I don't think it's a deal breaker either way. I do think it's interesting that on the list of the people you want to talk to, you've made sure there's at least one representative from every other team in the division.
True. Clint Kubiak, Seattle.
So
LaFleur
even if
and
they
Shula
aren't
from the Rams.
quite who you want to talk to, a little inside
And
info.
the news coming down that Mike Tomlin is parting ways with the Steelers. Wasn't fired, and he's still under contract, which means if he decides to go somewhere else, it's like a Sean Payton deal where it's going to have to be a trade with Pittsburgh. That also adds nuance to this. That's a pretty attractive job if you're a head coach, and that's a stable organization. They've kept their head coaches for a very long time. I think whoever Pittsburgh hires and wherever Harbaugh lands, I think those are kind of the first two dominoes that'll fall before we start to see how the rest of the league shakes out.
Paul will remember this, and if you're a longtime Cardinal fan, you're going to remember this. But we have, I assume, listeners that aren't quite that long time. Mike Tomlin got hired by the Steelers as somewhat of a surprise because there were a lot of insiders with the Steelers at that time in 2007 that thought Russ Grimm was going to get that job, and in fact, I think Russ Grimm felt he was going to get that job. And when he didn't, and Mike Tomlin was hired, then brand new Cardinals hired Ken Wisenhunt, who was on the Steelers staff with Russ Grimm in 2006, brought in Grimm to be the offensive line coach. And then a year later in 2008, those two helped take the Cardinals to the Super Bowl, where they lost to Mike Tomlin and the Steelers. And Mike Tomlin's been the coach there the whole time. And the Steelers thing is, we've talked about this a million times, they've had 3 coaches since 1970.
Mike Tomlin in that era was the Sean McVay of today.
That's a great, I like that comp.
So the young, and anybody who worked for Mike Tomlin automatically got interviews.
Well, and not only was Mike Tomlin the Sean McVay at that time, you didn't hire guys that young. I mean, I think that's been a more of a thing lately.
Yeah.
But like,
it was Tomlin and John Gruden, both hired ultra young, and that, but that was Al Davis going out of the box. But for the Steelers, it was totally different in a way, going that young, because Tomlin is their 4th head coach. No, wait a minute. That's third. They're looking for their 4th head coach since 1969.
Right.
Think about
Chuck
that.
Noll, Bill Cowher, Mike Tomlin.
And Bill Cowher retired at 49. He easily could have coached another decade. He walked away from the game.
And that's another. And some people have brought up Cowher when it comes to Tomlin. When this news came out, there's a lot of people saying he wants to take maybe a year away. It'll be interesting to see if he does get into the mix for any of these jobs, but he could go to TV for a year. But Cowher did that. Cowher went to TV, and then all of a sudden he kept being talked about, and he never got back into coaching for one reason or another.
Yeah. So there's that. There's a first-time head coach. There's a younger head coach. There's someone with experience. How about offense versus defense? Do you think, if we're talking about opposite-itis is what I call it, if you go from an offensive guy to a defensive guy, vice versa. So let's see, you went from Bruce Arians, Steve Wilkes, Cliff Kingsbury, Jonathan Gannon. You go on offense, defense, defense. So does that automatically mean you're looking for one side of the ball or the other?
No. Now, if they're going to go with a defensive-minded coach, I would expect in those interviews that candidate has some pretty solid candidates in mind for offensive coordinator. That's where you start to figure out, okay, what is a good fit? And then if you start to really get nuanced, that's important for where this organization is. There are decisions that are going to have to be made based on what we have heard from national reports on the future of Kyler Murray. And if he is here, well, then you want to get someone in here who has an idea and a plan on how to make him and the rest of this offense successful and take jumps that this offense, quite frankly, needs to take, especially with what we'd seen in previous years with a lot of the same personnel. And then there are questions of if this is where Murray is going to continue his career. And if the answer is no, from one way or the other, well, then what is the plan? And how does having the 3rd overall pick in this year's draft come into play? So there's a lot of things that are going to go into this decision, and it's not so simple as, hey, we've got a lock on these 5 big positions. One of them is quarterback. It's not that simple, right? Whoever the head coach is going to be, if that's an offensive-minded head coach, has got to have a solid plan. And if they're a defensive-minded coach, they have to have someone in mind who is a strong offensive coordinator who can create success with who they have, or has proven they can develop a quarterback. They can develop younger players into successful ones who can have a long career, because that's what this team is needing.
It's funny. I'm 100% with Dani. Like, I could see if you get a good defensive-minded candidate, defensive coach who's your head coach candidate, he could completely wow me in the interview. But if his offensive plan, and specifically who his offensive coordinator is going to be, not just his plan, but like who is going to be that guy, I got to know. That could, even if I liked everything else about him, that could kill it for me. That's me, but
no doubt about it. Well, ostensibly, if I remember right, one of the key reasons in hiring Cliff Kingsbury was, at the time especially, if you got the hot, innovative play caller as your offensive coordinator, he gone within a year, right? If he puts top 5 offense out there, you're not going to be able to retain him, because someone will make that hot, young, play-calling offensive coordinator their next head coach. So does that apply in this case? Because to your point, Darren, if you're going to hire a defensive guy, whether it's Jeff Hafley, Vance Joseph, whomever, you're going to have to answer the question, who's your offensive coordinator? And then B, how do you keep that person if they're qualified and talented and they succeed? And then, of course, there's the quarterback question out there, which, speaking of Pittsburgh, there's another season I need to add to the list. The speculation season I'm going to add to the list, which really spans many months after the playing season ends.
It's the NFL. Is there a season that isn't speculation for one reason or another?
Do I have an example? Oh, thanks for asking, Darren. I do. Driving in this morning, ESPN Radio, Chris Canty was talking about how Aaron Rodgers is most likely done, calling it a career. And if Mike Tomlin's done, they need to hit the reset button, refresh. How about, wait for it, Kyler Murray to the Steelers? That was Chris Canty on ESPN National Radio speculating about the next team and the future of Kyler Murray. So get ready for that. There's going to be a lot of that in the next few months.
I will say, going back to what Dani was talking about with the question of quarterback, like, I think there are a lot of teams that have to figure out quarterback situations this offseason. And I think at this point, I guess things could change, but we all have been watching. I think it's fair to say that this is not the strongest crop of draftable quarterbacks this year. So you put those two things together, I think this is going to be, I think in some ways, NFL-wide, the quarterback situation and the teams trying to figure something out that don't already have something completely solid in place, it could end up feeling a little musical cherry. Cherry, CHAIR-Y, not the fruit.
I mean, if I'm going to redefine off-season, then you can spell certain words or just create words on the fly. You know what I mean?
Does off-season have a dash, or
No.
is off-season one word for you,
It's one
Paul?
word. No, not for Paul. It's one word.
How come I asked Paul a question and you're answering?
Because
he's drinking coffee. That's why he can't wait. That's exactly why. On cue, he's caffeinated, highly caffeinated. That's your answer, Dani.
No, I mean,
all right, here's a question. Thanks for asking again. If it's a weak quarterback draft, that seems to be the inclination right now, but we won't know for sure until the two of you head to Indianapolis for the Combine. That's where I'm waiting.
How much is the shrimp cocktail?
That's
$19.95.
Okay, that's a good callback right there.
You know what?
We got that wise guy question correct a couple weeks ago.
We're still lighting the lamp in honor of me nailing the shrimp cocktail retail price.
We sure are.
Thank you.
That tiebreaker.
Especially since it's only a 3-win season for yours truly, wise guy. We will trumpet our victories.
3-win seasons.
So, if it's a weak quarterback draft, could I argue either way? It makes it more likely or less likely the Cardinals go forward with Kyler Murray. Could it be more likely that a team makes them an offer they can't refuse because it is a weak draft and there's not as many options? Or is it more likely the Cardinals hang on to Kyler Murray, especially if there's a different decision maker and a head coach looking at the draft and saying, whoa, not a lot of options out there. There's already a quarterback under contract for next year.
That's a fair point. A lot of this is going to come down to the money, right? The new league year starts March 11th, which is also my birthday, if any of you were wondering. So if Murray's on the roster on the 15th,
wrong time to take a sip, Darren.
He's due almost an extra $20 million. So there is somewhat of a
Sure.
deadline for a decision to be made. I think what's really going to play a big role in this is if the decision is made to move on, what can you get from him? If there are teams, especially if you're going to have a new head coach and maybe they feel they are only a quarterback away, what are teams willing to give? And if you don't feel like that's really much, the Cardinals do have the option of releasing him and then Murray can sign wherever he wanted to as a free agent. And if that is the case, well, then you could argue with a third overall pick, Cardinals could really use their first couple of picks, picking high in those first couple rounds of really bolstering an offensive line. Do you have enough in Jacoby Brissett where if you feel you have a stronger offensive line, you can create more success, not just with him as quarterback, but in the run game and getting your running backs healthy again? Maybe you draft a quarterback at some point in day 2 when they learn from Brissett, who will be going into year 11, who's received a lot of praise, and how he has mentored younger quarterbacks at different stops in his career. That's a long way saying there's options for both ways. And all of that to say, that could be more reason for the Cardinals to say, we want to keep Murray. We're going to make this work, and we're going to ride with him as our quarterback, especially in the transition year with a new head coach.
There's a reason, I think, beyond just GM speak, that Monty Ossenfort said all options were going to be on the table with Kyler. Now, for all we know, he's leaning one way or the other, but I don't think he wants to close any doors, and part of that is what you were just talking about, and that would be smart. And the other thing, too, right now, because there might eventually be some deadlines, obviously, when we get to the new league year and what Dani was just talking about, but right now they got to get a coach. They got to get a coach, and they got to figure out what direction the whole ship's going to go in before you start worrying about which deck chair goes where. So I think that's completely on the back burner until they figure the coaching part out. And, it's going to make for a fascinating offseason. It certainly will, because, again, quarterback becomes the most important position, not only with this team, but as we just said, as you brought up, the Steelers. The Steelers are a great example. Somebody said that, hey, look at that job. Like, it's so stable and you can go there. But what if the Steelers have gotten to the point where it's like, okay, we're treading water way too well, and the only way to really get better is to really blow it up and start, and you might have a 5-win season next year with the Steelers, but that's okay because this reset is probably long overdue. Now, they could end up lucking out and getting somebody later in the first round, like a Ben Roethlisberger, that people aren't expecting, but who knows?
Yeah, the Steelers have been good enough that they haven't been in the spot to get that franchise quarterback, right? They tried with Kenny Pickett, and obviously that didn't work a couple years ago. So, anybody reporting anything with my hot take, hashtag oven mitt, on the Lincoln Riley being hired to work with Kyler, reuniting those two from...
I thought when you were talking really highly about DTR a couple years ago, since he's going to the UFL, that's where I thought we were going with hot takes.
Well, that was in the context of the 5th round, Dani. Just the 5th round. I was in favor of taking DTR over Clayton Tune. Let's
They're
clarify.
both going to the UFL.
Let's clarify at that point.
I'm just excited for the first tweet that I have not gotten yet, where they exclaim how the Cardinals are going to hire John Harbaugh as the head coach and get Mike McDaniel as the OC and Mike Tomlin as the DC, and let's just roll with that. Because I know that's coming.
I'm trying to think here, if this was a stronger draft, but even I can't get away with the whole draft moniker, let there be a third QB, since the Cardinals are drafting third. Let there be, other than Fernando Mendoza, anybody who saw Dante Moore in his last game in the playoff, he is not the number 2 pick in this draft.
First of all, we don't want you recycling your
exactly
stuff.
That's right. We got to innovate. You're absolutely right. Okay, so anything else about any of the other names on here? Anyone, for this purposes of today, any other, notes, quotes, anecdotes about any of these candidates that are on this list?
I wouldn't expect a coach announcement to be made anytime soon, especially when you're looking at the amount of coaches on this list who are coaching in the playoffs. This is going to take time, especially with so many other teams with head coach openings and the amount of candidates that are interviewing at multiple spots. I could be wrong. Doesn't happen often, but it does happen time to time. I don't expect the announcement to come in the next week or so. I mean, they've got a lot of names to get through.
Okay, the Super Bowl is the first week of February, and generally the NFL would prefer that teams not announce coaches during Super Bowl week. It doesn't always happen. It doesn't work that way. Okay, so what are we talking? 2 weeks until then? 2.5 weeks, whatever it is. Numbers, there's 9 openings. How many coaching jobs are taken by the time we get to the beginning of Super Bowl week?
You know the under-the-radar name that's hot? Jesse Minter. This is before the Pittsburgh Steelers became open and available. All 8 teams request an interview with the Chargers defensive coordinator.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Jesse Minter, according to reports. And there's a lot of parallels. He's been linked to the success Mike Macdonald has in Seattle because he ran the defense when Michigan won the national championship after Macdonald left with Michigan, and now he's come to the Chargers the last couple of years. NFL experience under Jim Harbaugh. They've made the playoffs a couple of years in a row. By the way, Dan Graziano, ESPN.com, has an article up in the last 24 hours where he predicts, an early prediction, the next head coach for every team. For the Arizona Cardinals, Clint Kubiak, says Dan Graziano, blah, blah, more blah, says Cardinals need to be thinking about finding a young star head coach to compete in a division in which there's Mike Macdonald, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, et cetera, et cetera. Kubiak knows the division, so there you go. There's that for what it's worth. Once again, speculation season. Now it is time for Getting Culture. Dani, we'll segue to you.
Getting Cultured with Dani. It is not just directed at Paul.
Am I the default uncultured Philistine around here?
Yes.
You got me very excited now.
I am on social media and consume more pop culture than both of you combined.
I think I'm being unfairly profiled, but go ahead.
Let's go. We're going to keep getting cultured in sporadically throughout the offseason.
You know, it's the one segment that has lasted. I mean, Wise Guy automatically ends, and winning behavior has been.
Do you find that coincidental?
No, I
don't either.
It's the.
I don't.
Tread lightly, Darren. Here we go. Tread lightly.
I didn't know it was rhetorical,
Here
but
we
okay.
go. Here we go.
Okay, first on our list, Brooks Koepka's coming back to the PGA Tour after leaving for LIV in 2022.
Wait, I have to add him to that list I mentioned earlier. Keep going.
Okay. Can you multitask on that Samsung over there?
Here we go. Yep. There we go. It's. Wait, can I name the? Can I name the? It is a droid. It is a droid. I don't want to violate any partnership rules. Go ahead, Dani.
His first tournament back will be the end of January, as Tour is about to pick back up. There are some penalties, though, coming back. A $5 million charitable donation will be made. Koepka will not be eligible for 2026 FedEx Cup bonuses or Tour equity for 5 years. And it's a potential lost earnings of $100 million.
But on the plus side,
But
he
I
doesn't
do
have to
think
hang out with Phil Mickelson anymore.
That's true, or Bryson DeChambeau.
The plus side, isn't he already up $200 million for joining LIV? I mean, do the math. He's still up 9 figures.
Yes, but he is making his return with some penalties, but there is excitement in the golf world for that.
Yeah. He won't be missing any meals.
Some more sports news for baseball fans. Kansas City Royals are moving in their fences. Did either of you see this? You did not. The look on your face, Darren. So center field is going to stay at 410 feet. Their power alleys, though, are going to come in from 389 feet to 379 feet. So difference of 10 feet there. And their fence is going to be shortened from 10 feet to 8.5. And then I think in one section, they're going to add some more fan seating. So they're trying to have some more home runs, and Diamondbacks play in Kansas City in September.
First of all, every single Major League ballpark should have outfield fences where a guy can leap over and steal a home run. That should be an absolute Major League rule.
It's a good take.
I mean, if
You're not a fan of the Green Monster?
Okay, actually, I do like the Green Monster. So,
That's the exception?
But we're going to grandfather that in since it's from 1912.
If you can't clear them, lower them. Is that what you're saying? If you can't groom enough players to hit enough home runs, well, then change the dimensions of your park. Tigers did that a few years ago.
That's true.
So, yeah. I mean,
and then they started making the playoffs. So,
and then I wonder also, is it because free agents are saying, you know what, I'd rather not play in Death Valley where, you know, I hit a 400-footer and it goes to the warning track. So, you know what, we're going to move in those fences.
You know, as soon as baseball started calling pass interference more often, we knew the offenses were going to get all the benefits.
When we have discussions like this, it's so interesting to me as someone who has spent a majority of my career really focusing on football, covering some other sports, just how different baseball is in so many instances. I mean, first of all, the fully guaranteed contracts, but two, the fact that every ballpark gets to decide on their own dimensions and create your own sort of advantage. Like,
I think that's cool, though.
I do too, but could you imagine that in any other sport?
No, you can't. I was going to say something, but I also don't want to get fired. But I love, like you mentioned, the Green Monster. Like, I think that's totally cool. Now, I've been to Fenway. It was a bucket list kind of thing. Being in your seats, which aren't great because they're older. I've been there a couple times, but being in the outside part of the ballpark is totally cool. Now, when you go on the concourses and stuff, it's not so great. It's actually pretty lousy and old. And I'm pretty sure that there weren't a lot of 6'3" people walking around in 1912, and I can tell when you're walking around the concourse. But I love the fact that baseball parks can kind of do. I'm still upset Houston took out the hill in dead center field.
Houston Astros baseball has a lot bigger problems.
That's
cheating for one.
Yeah. Okay. What else, Dani? Here we go. Getting culture.
Did either of you watch the Golden Globes?
No.
I will admit, I did turn off about halfway through. I turned off that Sunday night playoff game between the Chargers and the Patriots because it was boring. Mm-hmm. And then I did turn on the back half of the Golden Globes. So there were some cultural moments. It's the first major award ceremony of awards season for both TV and movie, since you look puzzled, Paul. So Timothée Chalamet and Kylie Jenner, who have actually been dating for 3 years, have been more public with their relationship this awards season.
Like hard launch?
No, not a hard launch, because people know that they've been dating. Okay. But he's been thanking her. He's been winning some awards for Marty Supreme, which I have not seen, the ping pong movie. So he's been winning some awards and thanking her, and she's been getting a lot of attention.
He didn't win for
She's been getting a lot of attention because she never got any before.
Yes.
He didn't win for the Bob Dylan movie, but he won for Marty Supreme?
He's been winning some awards, yes.
Okay.
Don't take it out on me. I'm not a voting member. It was a big night for the Allen family as Josh Allen and the Bills beat the Jags. And his wife, Haley Steinfeld, was an award presenter at the Golden Globes. And Sinners, the movie she was part of, took home a few awards. So big night for them. And then this one, I was really excited to make sure you guys are aware that Miley Cyrus and Selena Gomez have buried the hatchet and had a really cute photo together at the Golden Globes. You both know the deep lore, right? You know the backstory. Let me refresh your memory. So both Miley Cyrus and Selena Gomez dated Nick Jonas of the Jonas Brothers during their peak back-to-back.
I feel like you've brought this up before.
So Miley Cyrus and Nick Jonas dated from like 2007, 2008, and then Selena Gomez from 2008 to 2010. Now, mind you, this was peak of all of their careers. Disney Channel shows, the movies, the concerts, yes. And Miley and her friends would make passive-aggressive YouTube videos about Selena Gomez and her BFF, Demi Lovato, who was also in this Disney realm dating the older brother, Joe Jonas.
First of all, I want to take that clip, and then I want to ask Paul, in 1995, could you imagine anybody saying that actual sentence? They were making passive-aggressive YouTube
You have
videos.
to understand, their TV shows would have crossover episodes, and they would not interact with each other. There was a lot of tension and beef between these teenagers. So anyway, that ship has sailed. They have officially buried the hatchet at some point in 2025, but they took a photo together, which a lot of people were really happy about at the Golden Globes. And you both have been cultured. You're welcome. We went past the music time, which I think is the first time
Everybody
ever.
grows up, Dani. Everybody grows up, even... Who was it? Miley Cyrus
and Selena Gomez and Demi Lovato with Nick Jonas and Joe Jonas.
Well, if your career sinks low enough, then you go back, you mend fences, and then get back.
And then they
in
go
the
on
news.
Dances with the Stars.
There you go. Okay. Was Trey McBride one of the presenters? Did he make a cameo of any sort?
He did not.
Was Dani the voter on that one?
I can tell you, if I were, it would have been unanimous.
Darren, are we ever going to find out the identity of the voter?
You know, it's interesting. I don't think there's any rule that says they can't out themselves, but I don't think there's anything that puts it out there. I want to say that the Baseball Writers of America that do the Hall of Fame voting for baseball, I think they made a rule a couple years ago that they do make it public, but the AP voters are not public. I think you can get a list of who is on who does it. I'm not 100% sure about that, but we won't know who voted, who didn't vote, who took George Kittle, who played 11 games and was injured and had, I don't know, 1 million less catches than Trey McBride. And I think George Kittle is a great football player, but there's no way he should have been.
There were games where Kittle also was not a focal point in the offense. Now, I understand that they have Christian McCaffrey and they were hurt, and you don't have to be the focal point of every game to be voted first team All-Pro. But what Trey McBride did for this offense week in and week out, regardless of the score, regardless of whether or not this team had been eliminated from the playoffs, regardless of how many receivers they had out there, how many offensive linemen were hurt, that's impressive. I don't love the fact that it was 1 vote shy of unanimous for him to be first team All-Pro.
But there are big things and little things. The big thing is he's first team All-Pro.
Yes, and it's a little thing that
is that,
absolutely.
it shouldn't overshadow the honor itself. And I feel like it hasn't been getting too much attention. I mean, even Shannon Sharp went off on his rant, Hall of Fame tight end, on his podcast, and I get it, and it's legitimate, his rant and his angst. But for him to say it ruins everything because it's not unanimous, that's way too far, in my opinion. This
is not a Hall of Fame vote.
It's worth a mention that, okay, it wasn't unanimous. Yes, this guy made a mistake, him or her, whoever the voter was. I don't know. It was, derelict of duty, whatever you want to say. But let's not forget, he's first team All-Pro. He had 70 more catches or so than George Kittle. The next step, and I mentioned this on Red Sea Report, coaching up, Rob Fredrickson and Craig Grillo, I said the next step is for Trey McBride to get mentioned among the greats. Greg Olson over the weekend talking about the play of the tight end and said, you know what? And he mentioned, you had to be an elite tight end like a George Kittle or Travis Kelce. So now the next step is for him to be in the mainstream, his name like that, especially someone like Greg Olson who played the position. You'd like to hear him include Trey's name going forward.
Similar to a Pro Bowl vote to a certain extent. I think part of that just comes with winning.
Yeah.
And these are announcers, right? And they keep tabs on the rest of the league and especially the teams that they are calling, right? The games.
Well, announcers. Oh, you're talking
like
about
Greg Olson, right?
Yeah.
I think.
I thought you meant the AP voters.
I think to a certain extent that just comes with the team winning and having more eyeballs on them. Now, similar to what we've talked about in the last couple of weeks on this podcast, if McBride can be consistent and the type of production he was generating and the sense of urgency and the fire he was playing with, then I think regardless of the record of this team, his name will be cemented.
And that really is the next step in his career because, we're going to be kicking this around all offseason and going into training camp. All right, what's next for Trey McBride? 4 years in the league, 2-time Pro Bowler, first team All-Pro, record-setting tight end, NFL records, team records. What's next? Postseason success, that notoriety, doing it in big games on the big stage.
For me, and this is something that is important, if the Cardinals are doing this right, and even if Trey McBride is doing this right, he doesn't come close to 126 catches again. Because you, in theory, are going to have Michael Wilson. You're, in theory, going to have Marvin Harrison stepping up. You're, in theory, going to find that run game again, which absolutely disappeared.
Yeah, there won't be 57 pass attempts in a game.
Hopefully Trey McBride isn't getting to 126 catches. Now, could he get 100 a year? Absolutely.
Especially in 17 games.
Yeah, and he's that good. But that's what you ultimately want to see is you want to see them all succeed. You want to see whether it's Michael Wilson or Marvin Harrison, you want one of the other ones to be a 1,000-yard receiver to go with McBride, and then the other one getting you 800 yards. And who knows, maybe eventually you can get to a high-level point where all three of them get 1,000 yards in a season like Anquan and Larry and Steve Breston did that one year. Although, one of the reasons those guys all got 1,000 yards that year is because the running game was nowhere most of the season. And so there's usually a give and take. So, look, I don't think there's any question Trey McBride is really good. And now George Kittle might miss most of next year with a torn Achilles, and so there's one guy. Now, Tucker Kraft was having I think Tucker Kraft would have been in the mix for All-Pro with Trey had he stayed healthy. He got hurt. Brock Bowers was hurt almost all year. There's other tight ends that are going to be really good.
No doubt. And look, I think the other thing needs to be said about Trey McBride is the degree of difficulty, right? Houston had a bunch of cloud coverages designed around 85. The next week, Cincinnati doubled him, according to Jacoby Brissett, and then they shaded some coverage towards Michael Wilson. I mean, the last month or two, the primary focus of every defensive game plan, times 10, was to stop Trey McBride, and he was still ridiculously productive and competitive and found a way to get open and get yards, and he even got his hurdle in the last game, and, so...
Got his hurdle.
I mean, finally, come on, he got it all in there. So, to your point, Darren, if Michael Wilson has that sustainability, and I believe he does. To me, he's Puka Nacua light. And then Marvin Harrison Jr., if you're going to unlock and maximize his talents and skill set, then maybe that is, what helps Trey McBride. He won't get as many targets, but teams won't be able to as easily devote as much attention to stopping him, hopefully, by design. But I'm curious to see what the offense looks like. A, it's based on the new coaching staff, obviously. But B, if you're going to design an offense around your best weapons, this would seem to be a pass-first offense much more than a run-first offense, which we saw in 23 and 24, right? I mean, there could be a totally new identity, and not just because of the coaching, but because of the emergence of Michael Wilson and then what you hope is still considerable upside on Marvin Harrison Jr.
We could see that shift in the identity. I mean, you're going to need an offensive line that is stellar one way or the other. But that is something you're going to have to wait to be decided until you have a head coach, the offensive coordinator. What are you going to do at quarterback, right? A lot of those decisions. But there's good argument of being a pass-first offense if things mostly stay the same right now.
It has been the year of the tight end a lot in the division, has it not? As Sean McVay went to the tight end quite a bit, George Kittle, Trey McBride. And then you saw what Seattle was able to do. They got good production out of the tight end.
Well, San Francisco, even when the games Kittle missed, I forget who the kid's name was, but
Tongas.
Yeah,
Jake Tongas.
He played pretty well.
Yeah.
You're telling me that San Francisco had a player who nobody really knew about, and when the starter got hurt, he shockingly went in and played really well, and they didn't miss a beat?
It is remarkable,
Color
isn't it?
me surprised.
Yep, it is remarkable. And the Niners and Seahawks, they split, so there's an all NFC West division game on Saturday. And then the best game to me, Rams at the Bears. And I love, and I think it was Schrager who brought this up first off, you take the Ben Johnson handshake or lack thereof, which I thought was unnecessary and beneath the position of head coach in the NFL. Didn't like it on any level. I don't care what sort of rivalry it is. You don't do the drive-by handshake. I thought it was weak. It was weak sauce in all levels, but that's me. I just thought it was bad for Ben Johnson and for the Bears. But now think about it. Who's best friends with Matt LaFleur? Sean McVay. Whose little brother is on the Rams coaching staff? Mike LaFleur. If the Rams have a chance to run it up on good old Ben Johnson, I think it happens. I really do.
I could see that, actually. I could actually see
that. How does this taste, Ben?
I didn't even think about that. Now, can they? I mean, the Rams aren't exactly playing lights out right now.
No, they're not. But they're still winning. It's like they peaked in early December. They peaked in the third quarter against Seattle on that primetime game. Was it Sunday night, Monday night? Remember, they had blew the 14-point lead in the fourth quarter. But at that point, they were going to be the number one seed in the playoffs, and they were the juggernaut.
I look at these four matchups, and I'm excited and intrigued by all of them. Buffalo at Denver, San Francisco at Seattle, Houston at New England, LA at Chicago. And I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but isn't this kind of nice to have a playoff season where we've got four good matchups and none of them involve the Kansas City Chiefs?
I'm with you on that one.
Talked about Chiefs fatigue.
I'm with you on that one.
Here's the thing. Yep. I get it, but I'm old enough to remember when the Patriots were always this good.
Yeah, same.
F the Patriots.
You know what I think it's more exciting about for me is not so much that the Chiefs aren't in it, but the fact that with the exception of Matthew Stafford, none of these quarterbacks have won a ring.
I know, but I can't. I'm sorry, I can't get on the. I can't root for Sean Payton.
I'm not saying I'm rooting for him, but I'm saying that I am intrigued. That's where I think we're different, as I'm able to kind of take a step back and almost be more, not a true fan, but like appreciate good football regardless of whether or not there is a team in the NFC West who's playing really well. I'm not going to sit here and root for San Francisco or Seattle or LA by any means, but I can enjoy good football.
All right, so I think this is a good segue into my power poll of sports figures that I'm done with. This time a year ago, it would have been Kansas City in the top 3 spots. Any combination of Kelsey, Mahomes, and Andy Reid, just based on all the commercials. So power poll of sports figures I'm done with. Hashtag basta. Italian for enough.
This is strictly yours. We are not allowed to add any in.
No,
here.
feel free. I mean, like I said, it's a party.
I'm so excited.
It's like surfers say, party wave. Everyone jump on. Number 1, and don't at me on this, I don't think there's any disputing, it's Lane Kiffin. We're just done with Lane Kiffin.
So you're going 1. So this is
Power poll.
He's number 1.
Number 1.
So you didn't count down. You counted.
I'm starting at the top.
Okay.
Lane Kiffin, number 1.
I like it.
I'm good with that one.
Number 2, I'm just going to go Ryan Clark. I just think we're done with Ryan Clark. I'm done. I'm done.
Okay. Can I ask what the tipping point was? Or no, you're not willing to offer?
It's been a slow build. But now we're there.
Okay.
We're there. Carl Cheffers, who's going to have a division game. Carl Cheffers, just, are you getting paid by the flag? I don't understand. So, we're going Carl Cheffers. He of the 17 flag game. He of the 19 flag game. So get ready for a 3.5-4 hour affair in that playoff game.
Never before.
Good thing you don't get fined over there, Paul.
I saw this one.
This is number 4 now?
The Olympics, number 4. Olympics are coming to NBC, right?
Yes.
So I think it was Sunday Night Football, and I did a spit take when I saw Lindsey Vonn is back.
Oh, yeah, she's back.
40-something years old. Lindsey Vonn. When's the last time Lindsey Vonn wasn't part of a Winter Olympics? I don't know.
Wait a minute, how
but
could you be
she's
tired
back.
of her?
Why are you upset over that?
Yeah.
Well, you would think every 4 years isn't that enough, but when she's been there for 40 years, then we're just tired of it.
The Jeff Lebo of this Winter Olympics.
And then, courtesy of Dani bringing this up earlier, Brooks Koepka, we'll put him there. Actually, we'll put Brooks Koepka on the watch list.
That's fair.
I have 3 other names on the watch list.
Okay.
I already mentioned Ben Johnson. He's on the watch list. Puka Nacua, just because he's irritating at this point. And then Sam Levitt. Sam Levitt is real close to going from the watch list to
I got very tired.
right
of
next to Lane Kiffin.
I like most of that list.
Yeah.
I had a couple people, but I'm not going to bring it up because I don't need to get flamed on social media. So I'm going to keep it to myself.
Okay, just let my keister blown in the wind out here. Hang out here by myself. That's good.
My fear is the people that I bring up, it could get back to them.
And that's an ever-changing list, similar to the list of incompetence.
A little bit, yes.
Okay.
A little bit, yes.
I like
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah, we can just, and one person can knock another person out. So there you go.
And I'm shocked that Tyreek Stevenson did not find his way onto that list. Has enough time passed from the Hail Mary?
I was shocked to see that Tyreek Stevenson is a backup now. I thought he was like a really good corner, but in that Chicago playoff game, he only came in for 1 snap after the starter got hurt and had to leave the field. And then Tyreek Stevenson, I'm like, okay, so there's that. Now, Aaron Rodgers on the list, Dani. I'm surprised you didn't throw Aaron Rodgers on the list. When you would vote in favor of.
She's over
right?
Aaron
I'm
Rodgers.
just over it.
Okay, all right.
I'm over it.
Is
If he goes out and his final play is a pick six.
I knew I was waiting for you to say that.
I did not pick the Steelers to win a single game in my picks this year. Maybe that's why I came in third. But you know what? Sometimes you just have to stand strong in your values and what you believe
That's
in.
fair.
So it wasn't business. It was personal, a little personal with
he
Aaron
had burned
Rodgers.
me previous times the year prior when I kept picking the Steelers or the Jets, wherever he was.
Okay. All right. By the way, Darren mentioned earlier, reportedly Jonathan Gannon getting an interview scheduled at least for a head coaching interview with Tennessee. And then D.C. interviews with the Cowboys and Commanders. So interesting.
So if the
Gonna
Commanders
finish out the NFC East.
So if the Commanders hire him, then Dan Quinn will have gone from one ex-Cardinals
OC.
head coach to be his OC
Right.
and decide
Yes.
get rid of him and bring in an
Yeah.
ex-Cardinals head coach to be his DC.
That is true. That is true. So there's the latest on that front. Anything broken while we've been on here? Anything come up in the coaching search? Because
No, not
Darren,
that
are you always on social media, like from sunrise to sunset, from getting up till bedtime? Are you on always looking for the next rogue report out there? Give us a little behind the scenes.
I'm not going to lie.
What it's like to be the Cardinals insider that you are.
Way too much on social media, to the point where I doom scroll and it's not good for me.
Does your wife make you put your phone in a lockbox?
No, she
dinner?
doesn't make me. She does complain that I'm on it too much, and she does complain when I get in a poor mood when I'm on it. But that's neither here nor there.
See, Dani, with your picks, just don't let it be so personal. And then Darren on social media, don't let it be so personal. You know what I mean? That's no.
I take everything personally,
okay.
Paul.
I see. Not feasible, plausible, or doable. All right, I think our work is done here on this edition of Cardinals Underground. Would you think so? I mean,
I don't know. I'm looking at Omo through the glass, and he looks very bored.
That's, you know what? Well, there's always something to work on. We'll try and be better next week on Cardinals Underground, brought to you by Pacific Office Automation.